Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Wixo Season 2. We are now on the 5th episode of this series, and in this episode we are going to be seeing a very interesting chain of events leading to one of our first really major empires. But if you guys do end up enjoying this video, please do be sure to leave a like and subscribe and leave any ideas in the comments. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So, first things first, we are going to be moving over to northern Iran, as we see a pretty large migration event. Some people who feel like they are being subjugated by Iraq, they're kind of under their religion, move away and form their own state. This is pretty bad for Iraq, as they vent a lot of population here, and it does cause quite a few instability issues actually. But yeah, we do go ahead and see this country form up, and it's a very large one. There are quite a lot of people that do not follow the religion of Iraq, and yeah, not the greatest event for them. Their capital will be right here, so we've got our first Caspian country, very tough. Next up, moving over to Asia, we are going to be seeing some expansion in Japan. We have a lot more stuff be discovered as we have more ships be used to go ahead and discover more and more land, and we have Shanghai continue to conquer, fully taking over this island, and shortly afterwards they are going to start conquering the mainland of Japan. We also have Shanghai begin to expand a little bit more north. However, then as it's looking pretty decently for Shanghai, we actually have a pretty large crisis take place in the country. The king does not have an heir, so when the king dies, we have a little bit of a struggle for power take place, and during this we actually have some pretty corrupt and power-hungry officials in Korea actually take hold, and they are actually going to go ahead and form their own breakaway state. So we have this huge Korean movement go ahead and break away, and this is extremely bad for Shanghai, because, as we know, Korea is their base of operations to reach Japan, and with this, food supply cuts into Japan, and yeah, these guys just rebel away and form their own countries. We have this new sector up in the north breakaway, and down in the south we have this golden country breakaway. And by the time that Shanghai has officially selected their new king, it's already a bit too late, and they struggle to retake any of this land, as these guys have already built up substantial forts, and their navies and militaries were here, and they've now switched sides because there was no reason to not have military presence here, as they believed that this was a stable region of their nation. So yeah, that is a little bit of a setback there for Shanghai. Next up, moving down further to Southeast Asia, we have the Burmese country actually go ahead and explore a bunch more of this land, and they begin to conquer it. They are actually doing fairly well. They move up, conquer these islands and a bit more of the coast, and afterwards they begin to move down. They also begin putting some pretty hard trade regulations onto the Bangladesh country, which is very bad. However, things are actually about to get a lot worse, because Bangladesh's main trade partner, the southern Chinese country, as I mentioned before, it's going through some issues, and unfortunately it has reached a breaking point, and this will be leading to many side effects. However, the country basically ends up in turmoil. The people, they are tired of being ruled by monarchs that just don't care about them at all, and are just power hungry and lazy. So we have multiple factions throughout the country begin to rise up and cause chaos, and during this, we have the southern... I really need to give these guys a name. I guess I'll call them Taiwan, even though their capital isn't there. We have the Taiwan country move in and take their chance. They begin invading into many of the port cities, and these guys, they really can't do anything about it, as multiple regional clans have already begun to break away. We have this light blue clan in the north breakaway. These guys really quickly take on much more of this southern area. We have this deep red Hainan and southern country breakaway. We have this very dark blue country breakaway over here in the west. And we have this purple country go ahead and break away in the north. So yeah, just a complete civil war for this country. And unfortunately, due to the amount of fronts that are being fought, it really isn't going to go well for the main government. However, it isn't going to go so well for some of these rebellions either, because these guys, they all want to be the successor, so they're going to start fighting. We have the Red Hainan country, which is extremely strong. They have a huge amount of port cities, absolutely just blast this blue country in the south, and afterwards they begin to move up towards this light country. However, we do have a little bit of a stalemate happen after a while. The green country, or the main country rather, They do attempt a pushback. However, with these red team forces in the south continuing to move over, and the purple country in the north actually somewhat collaborating with the Taiwanese state, unfortunately, we do eventually see this country lose its capital. Well, unfortunately, if you like this country. If not, then hooray for you, I guess. And within a few weeks of the capital being captured, the country is essentially just divided up. We have some, kind of peaceful methods, but the borders are essentially just set on, what land is conquered by the end of the war, and it ends up looking something like this. So yeah, these guys are of course going to be annexing all this land. They also take this chunk of land over here. But yeah, getting back to what I was talking about before, due to that, they have just lost their major trading partner, and that is very bad for them because now they are really struggling and the people here begin to starve, and yeah, it really isn't going well for them. In terms of capitals for these guys over here, these guys will have their capital right there. This capital definitely wasn't the reason that I made them win this city, but their capital will be right there. A little bit precarious, right on the border of their enemy. These guys will obviously have their capital right there. I am going to slightly change this country's color. I don't think the blue works. Yeah, that's a little bit better. These guys also expand a little bit. But yeah, that is going to be it for now over here in this region. Over in Australia, we have this country in the south expand a little bit and they conquer some more of the coast. However, most of these guys are just chilling. This empire up here conquers a few tribes. But yeah, that is actually going to be it for Australia. Very quick update there today. Moving over here, we have more colonization happen and we have a bit more exploration into Africa. As we have much more of this region go ahead and be explored. It's kind of hard to because it's desert, but they can move in. Camels and stuff, I suppose. And yeah, Greece is going to have a field day. They conquer Tripolitania. Not too valuable, but it's still a little bit more valuable than the surrounding desert areas. They finally conquer all of Sicily, and they definitely should have already conquered Malta, my bad. But yeah, Greece is starting to do extremely well. We also have them moving more into the interior of the continent, and they also begin moving up the coast more. And everything's going pretty well in Greece, so that's good for them, I guess. And they expand this colony over here a bit, and they also go ahead and move in on this colony, this new Libyan one here. We have the green Iraq country expand, or Iran, sorry, Iran country expand a little bit. I guess this could sort of be Azerbaijan, and Italy finally gets a hold of this region. And finally, before we start focusing on a pretty large event, we are going to have one final country pop up, and that is going to be this magenta Normandy country. But at this point, we are going to start to take a look at a chain of events that is going to be leading to an extremely large conflict and the expansion of a certain country. And to look at that, we need to go into Egypt. Egypt right now is really struggling. Ever since that war, they have really not been able to come back from it, and they have just gone through a huge economic collapse. The value of their currency, of which they used to trade with these other Mediterranean countries, has just collapsed, and Egypt is in turmoil. The people, they're just unhappy with the current rule, and they want change. So we have a full-on civil war breakout in Egypt. And yeah, with this civil war breaking out, a country that has been on the rise recently and has recently kind of changed their ideals is going to take the advantage of this situation, and they are going to be beginning their empire. And that is, of course, going to be Sudan. As we have Sudanese forces quickly cross into Egypt, these guys do not like Egypt, and as I have said before, new religion, new ideals, and they have conquest on their mind. They are led by the son of that previous ruler who had conquered much of this land and switched over religion. This guy is extremely military minded. He is an incredible general, honestly the best one ever so far, and he is able, with smaller armies, take on Egypt's much stronger forces. He is able to cut Egypt in two, and within just a few, probably just a few short weeks actually, Egypt completely falls, and this is a complete shock to the rest of the Mediterranean. Egypt, while it's not perhaps the strongest country, it is definitely established, and it has just been wiped out by a power that has previously been seen to not be very strong at all. But these guys, they are on their expansion arc now, and they are going to be fully annexing Egypt, so rest in peace. Shortly after this, we have the general go ahead and conquer some of these nearby tribes in order to secure his capital regions, and he is also going to be expanding the holdings over here in Arabia. Now, one country that is really not happy about this is Greece. Is Greece going to do the smart decision of, maybe just sanctioning them and saying, don't do that? No, they are going to be launching an invasion, which, well, they capture this city, then the general does that, he does that, he does that, he does some boat stuff, wins a naval battle, does that, and goodbye Greece's Libyan holdings. Oh dear. So Greece, arguably the strongest naval power in the world and an extremely strong military power, has just been defeated by a bunch of desert people. Sound the alarm bells, this guy is a threat, but they come to a deal where these guys are like, leave us alone please. Greece is like, yeah, we were not planning on another war with you. Good luck on your journeys, I suppose. But we have this country continuing on its expansion, conquering much more of this area. And the reason I'm just kind of focusing on this one region, like in a row, is because these events are happening extremely quickly. This empire is coming like this, and they are already preparing for their next conquest. However, I do want to focus on some other things as a little bit of an intermission. Over in Asia, moving back over here, we have the Burma country expand a little bit more, and in the Americas, this country, which is now united by its religion and finally has some stronger rulers, is able to expand further, and we are also finally going to be seeing a little bit more exploration, as these two groups may be getting close to meeting up with each other. We'll have to see though. These guys are the North Americans, obviously. But we have much of Central America be discovered, and we have these guys over here expanding along the coast a little. Anyway, back over to Europe. New conquest time, but actually not these guys. It's going to be Iraq. And what is Iraq doing this time? Well, they are going to be conquering a tribe over here, and it's going pretty well until it doesn't, and the tribe actually starts whooping Iraq. And this is kind of showing that Iraq has had a little bit of mismanagement issues recently. They weren't even able to beat Trebizond in that war previously, and they have been venting population to this country, and I think it's maybe safe to say these guys are on the decline. And to make things even worse, while they are actively losing a war to the Arab tribes, the Turkic tribes, who they had tried to convert into the religion, oh, here's the religion map update by the way, they had failed to convert these guys into their religion, and we have these Turkic tribes begin to move in, and we also have many of these newly conquered areas begin to be conquered by these tribes as well, and the people living here are actually more in favor of these tribes than living under Iraq. I'm sure that someone who has some issues with Iraq would not take advantage of this. I'm sure of it. Yep, not confident in that, I see. As we have Sudan launch an invasion into Iraq, and big empire fight. Everyone's watching this, everyone's very concerned, because on the one side you've got this evil empire who has been very expansionist and power hungry, and on the other side you've got this one that's been whooping everybody, and they've got an extremely smart general. So, how is this war going to play out? Well, it's actually going to be quite interesting. We have some collaboration with the peoples living here. As you remember, there used to be a Jordanese country here. However, it actually did get annexed, so, they probably aren't too big fans of Iraq anymore. Up in the north, they still have to focus on the Turkic rebels, so a little bit of a distraction, and this is one of the reasons why Sudan is able to do so well here. Sudan, well, they are able to just smash straight into the Iraqi front lines, and we have our first major battle. It's kind of hard to simulate battles on this scale, but essentially what we have happening is we have forces lining up on a town. Basically, Iraq's proposition here is we're going to slow them down, but we also have a much bigger army than them, so we're going to try and just slam into them with all we've got and just try and get rid of all of their forces by using meat shields, essentially. However, we have the general down here in Sudan actually using this to his advantage. He is able to take the extreme size and mass of the Iraqi army, and he's able to use it to disorganize them. The army is so big that they are not able to do quick maneuvers, and with some pretty impressive tactics, he is able to encircle and squeeze the army in, and because they're so large and actually fairly disorganized, a lot of their generals are up here in Turkey right now, he is able to fully wipe out this army, causing a death toll of over 80,000 men, which is the worst defeat ever seen. And I'm not going to lie, that's a good 70% of Iraq's army just gone. And with that, pretty decent strategy isn't even needed. These guys just begin to roll through, and just like that, this general and his fairly new empire has defeated the strongest country in the world. As the troops continue to roll through, the Mesopotamian Valley, which hasn't seen any major combat in several hundred years, maybe even get a better part of 1,000 years, is rolled through by these forces. The capital city falls, and Iraq goes ahead and surrenders, or rather than that, they essentially just get overran. I don't really think they have a government to surrender with anymore. And let's go ahead and see what this kind of settlement looks like. So yeah, essentially Sudan has just overrun Iraq completely. They, this I imagine that would happen as well, because those tribes were only winning because they were fighting Iraq, who was falling. But yeah, Sudan is able to fully take over Iraq, and this is extremely shocking. This is our first really huge empire here, and yeah, they've just completely dominated. The strategy is just extremely superior, and this empire begins to become extremely feared. This happened, but with these guys defeated, the main goal of the Sudanese general is complete, and from this point on, we are essentially just going to see him clean up the area. Unfortunately for the Palestinian country, they are kind of just surrounded, so they are going to quickly get invaded, and with a quick crossing of the ocean, the Cypriot country is also going to fall. Unfortunately for this region as well, perhaps we will see some of this other red religion and this yellow religion be a little bit persecuted, but this guy is fairly fair with his religious policies. He understands that perhaps subjugating people is probably not the best way to go about it, so we have some freedom of religion, but not a ridiculous amount. We do have a little bit more conquest up in the north as well, but for now, that is actually going to be it for this empire, and we'll just have to see, will they continue to expand once the general has passed on by next episode, or will they collapse? We will have to see. But yeah, that is going to be it for our main event of the video, so that was this sort of centerpiece, and we are going to be seeing one final event before we end the video off, and to see that we're going to go ahead and view Spain. Yeah, goodbye. that country just dies. But yeah, that is actually going to be it for this episode. I really hope you guys did enjoy. I had planned out some aspects of this episode, you can probably tell which, for a while now, so I'm happy that I was finally able to get that done, and I will see you guys in the next episode.